Let's talk about Ignite UI for Blazor. So today we're going to talk all about Blazor. I'm going to show some stuff on the website that I'm going to go right into Visual Studio, and we are going to do some demos. So I'm Jason. I have been in Infragistics for going on 20 years, been all the way through the .NET cycle, and now we've got all the new modern web stuff with Blazor, Angular, React, web components, etc. So if you have any questions on any of this stuff today, just pump it into the question and answer box or into the chat. When you do something in the chat, make sure that you click the little drop down that sends it to everyone if you want everyone to see the question. And then with me as well as Luke, he's our regional manager for Australasia, and he will also be on the Q&A. And if you have any questions about any of the products, you can email Luke as well. Email either one of us, and we will get back to you with a good answer every time. So today we're going to look at Blazor, the Blazor product from Infragistics, how to build apps with this product. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through some pretty cool stuff that we do with the Blazor controls that make it really easy to get started. And then you can debate all day long about the best practices and things like that. But you know, we've done some neat things with data binding to help people get started pretty quickly with the product. And then, of course, as you know, with Microsoft, there's like 10 ways to skin a cat. So like they'll give you this way, this way, this way, this way, and you got to make up your mind on how you want to approach your architecture for your apps. We're also going to look at App Builder, which we did a webinar on 2 weeks ago. And I'm going to show you how to do basically the same thing I'm doing manually in code in App Builder without writing any code. And then we'll just wrap it up. A quick housekeeping, all of the slides in the video, we'll send you links tomorrow. So of the recording, you can share with the folks at your office or your friends. And then if you do have questions, just use the chat. It's on my other monitor here. So I will be kind of glancing over there during the session today. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop my video just because it's gets in my way, and I'm going to go right into a demo. So the first thing that I want to do is show you, whoops, not that. I want to show you how to get to all this stuff and what we have in the Blazor product. So if you go to the infragistics.com homepage, and you go to design and development, so you're following along, and if there's any issue with the screen share, Luke, just jump on and say, hey, we're not seeing something or whatever, but I'm pretty sure my
yeah, I'm not seeing your screen as now.
Oh, you don't see my screen?
No.
Did you see any of the slides?
Yes, just in the last 10 seconds.
What's going on here? Oh, I must have clicked something too aggressively. There we go. How's that look?
Yep, back on.
You can see it?
Yep.
All right, cool. So what you want to do is go to www.infragistics.com, design and development, and then underneath Ignite UI, you want to click Blazor. Now, the first thing that you're going to see on the Blazor homepage is a screenshot of App Builder. I'm going to show you App Builder a little bit later. And today's webinar is about 30 minutes, so I got a lot to show. So I talk fast. So if you want me to slow down or talk about something, just pump it into the chat. But if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that we've got the grid here running in the page, and you can click this thing here that says view all Blazor grid samples. But before I do that, I want to scroll to the bottom and show you the controls that are in the product. So we've got like the meat and potatoes, data grid, and charts, which I'm going to demo. We also have a doc manager, which is like a Visual Studio like docking thing. We've had it in Windows Forms, WPF. We have it all over the place. Right now, it's actually a web component. We are doing a Blazor API on it, and that's going to ship in about 3 weeks or so. But then we have all these other controls, basically stuff that you need to build applications for the web. So, you know, drop downs, calendars, maps, avatars, cards, nav drawers, you know, all these things. And then we're continuing to add more components to this list. So if I open up another tab and I go to GitHub and I want to go to GitHub Ignite UI, Where you can always go to see what's going on is the Ignite UI web components repo. And what we're doing with Blazor is, obviously Blazor is a web technology. So ultimately everything renders in the browser is a web component. And what we've done is we've put a C# native API on top of that. So you can go here to the roadmap.md and you can see what is coming in March, even though it's already April. So yeah, we talked about this the other day. There's a couple things we have to update here in terms of the dates, but like a tree view, linear progress, and a bunch of other stuff. So we're continuing to push new controls out that will help you build out all of these applications. Martin says, will be something like a ribbon menu. We are shipping a tab control. And so the tab control is typically how you would do the ribbon. It's basically the same thing. So the ribbon in WPF allows you to do that. Oh God, I forget what it's called. It's the eventing bindings. On the web, it's essentially something that just looks like a ribbon because you don't have the same capability. So yeah, you can use the tab for that. And mimic that probably with some CSS and some of the button controls, the button group control. We have drop downs and things like that. So you'll be able to mimic it for sure. But yeah, check out this repo. And in fact, I'm going to copy this. I will paste it into the chat here so everyone can get it. And just, put this stuff in your favorites to keep an eye out on what's going on. All right, so I'm here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to click Data Grid and I'm going to go in because most people care about grids, right? So the Infragistics grid, there's a bunch of samples. I'm not going to go into every sample, but I'll just highlight a couple cool things that you should know about. For example, when you look at this sample, and this was the same one that was on the home page, when I hover over each header, you can see this kebab shows up. Well, the kebab actually does our Excel style filter, but it does more as well. So it allows you to do column grouping, column hiding, sorting, moving columns left and right. So I can move columns however I want. I can pin columns to the left or to the right. I can, deselect all these records and just select what I want. And let me go back here to, I was under this guy. So I'm going to select all now. I can do things like column summaries. Let's do count of this guy. I can also do custom filters. I can do searches. So basically anything that you would expect in a grid, you can do with this grid, and it's super easy to set up. A lot of it's just on by default. But basically, if you say allow column filtering and you say equals true, everything lights up for you. So yeah, and you kind of saw me do a column move. And part of this is the toolbar. So the grid has a toolbar, and this is a column chooser essentially. So I can deselect a couple columns here. And by the way, you'll notice that there's this animation that occurs. That's optional, and it's completely customizable. So you can do any type of column move animation, show hide animation, grouping animation, etc. You can also see here we did a grouping by country and income. So the groups work really nice. You can see they have like sticky headers. So as I scroll, the header kind of just slides up really smooth. And then the other thing is this grid is virtualized from the row level and the column level. So you never have to worry about, will it be able to support all of my data? The answer is absolutely. You can pour as much data as you want into this thing. You can do load on demand. We actually, if you scroll down here, we've got a high performance demo, and this high performance demo is showing like live data streams. And you can open up most of these, like this one, you really can't. I'm not sure why, but let me go to maybe binding live data here. Let's see this guy. All right, this guy here, if I click live prices, what you'll see is that the grid starts to mimic sort of like this desktop trader application, and you've got columns that are updating, and you can see as I scroll, I still get like really smooth performance. So it's actually really nice. And you get just a lot of the typical features that you would have expected in your grids. And if you're coming from Windows Forms or WPF, or you've used Infragistics in the past, all of this is available. And of course, the question I always get with the web is, can we load or can we save the grid state and then reload it? And the answer is yes. So we do have load and save layout. Now for charts, it's the same thing. I'm not going to go through these chart samples. We basically have every possible chart feature that you could imagine. So check those out later. And I'm going to show you that in the demo real quick. And then, you just click on anything here and you can muck around with the samples and, kind of explore on your own. The samples and the docs are the same thing. So let's go ahead and open up Visual Studio. So what I'm going to do is, and sometimes things open up on my other monitor for whatever reason, the way Windows works, I don't know. We will, if I have to slide stuff over, I will. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a new project and we're going to create a Blazor WebAssembly app. You could do Blazor Server or WebAssembly, it doesn't matter. What I find really annoying about Blazor Server, and I guess this is because I'm running it locally, is that you get that, please wait while connecting dialogue, like when you refresh the screen, and it's just like, why? I just don't get it. But let's call this guy webinar Blazor demo. I always spell Blazor wrong. Blazor demo. We'll hit enter and we'll just click create. So now the first thing that you want to do, because we want to light up this project with Infragistics controls, is we need to add them, and all of our stuff is available on NuGet. So you're going to right click on your project, you're going to manage NuGet packages, then you're going to go to browse, and then from here you're going to type in Infragistics Blazor, you're going to hit enter, and you're going to see that we've got a few Blazor NuGet packages here. So I'm going to click igniteui.blazor. I'm going to select my project and I'm just going to say install. So if you've ever used NuGet, this is, the process is how it works. So now this package was installed. And if you look here, it basically says, yep, everything got installed and we're ready to rock and roll. So now to actually tell my application to use Blazor, this is .NET 6 and this is minimal API. So it's actually pretty slick. I'm going to say using, and I need to say igniteui.blazor.controls. So blazor.controls like so. Now this is the global using. It's available to my entire application. Now let's go to program.cs and then tell the .NET application to use the components from that using. And the way you do that is with the builder. So you say builder.services.add, and let me add this, move this below builder.services.add scope. So I want builder.services.add Ignite UI Blazor, and that's all I need to do. And then the next thing this does is it says builder.build. So it's real important that you do this before this, because if you build the package of dependencies and objects needed in the application without your Blazor, you're not going to get it. So I can click run here or save. Everything's ready to go in terms of my application being ready to use Infragistics Blazor controls. So now what I'm going to do is go to pages, and we're ready just to start adding controls. So if I was doing this for Windows Forms, I would be dragging stuff. I would right click on my project and add assemblies, and then I would get things in the toolbox. Well, all we do here is we add NuGet, we add our usings, and we're ready to rock and roll. Things are ready to go. So I am going to just build some stuff here. So for this, it's going to be, we're going to use Northwind database, of course, because I'll show you why in a minute, because I have it all ready and it's kind of ready to go. We're going to delete that. We're going to delete that. And then the one thing that this guy is missing, because it's the index page, is the code for this, basically the code behind for this page. So the way this is going to work is we're going to create a screen that has a combo box with the Northwind customers. Underneath it, we're going to add a data grid with the orders for that customer. And then underneath that, it's going to be a chart with the category orders for that customer. Now, I'm going to be using real data from the cloud. I'm not going to be hard coding crap into this page. And then you're going to be like, how do I really do this in real life? I'm going to show you two ways to actually use real data. But the first thing that I want to do is add the Infragistics Blazor multi-column combo box. So I'm just going to start typing. Everything's in autocomplete, and I'm going to add igniteui.blazor.controls IGB multi-column combo box. So I'm just going to select this guy or double click it and close it out. And there we go. And actually we can just put the backslash like so, and we'll get rid of this. So now I've got this combo box. If you want to learn how to use the combo box, go back to the website, go all the way up to the top, type in combo, and you got the multi-column combo box. And here's all the docs and all the help for how to use the multi-column combo box. So basically it's as easy as this. See how we're doing this IGB multi-column combo box, height, width, data source, text field, you know, what's going to display in the actual text area, and then what should the value be? I mean, honestly, I'm just going to copy this because why not? I was going to type all this, but why put you through all me watching me type? So let's go back to our app and let's paste this guy in. So here we go. There we go. So we added a height and we have a width, and let's move this stuff over. The data source is what we're going to change. My text field is not going to be country. My text field is going to be company name. And the value fields that I want inside of this, you know, combo box for when I select it is actually going to be the customer ID. Now, the way this multi-column combo box works is that it takes an array of fields. So what I can do here is I can say, well, my array is going to be a new string, a new string. And in this string, I want to stick the columns that I want for my data source. And I'm going to show you my data source in a second. I just happen to have done this multiple times, so I kind of know by heart what I want here. So I want customer ID. And after customer ID, I want the company name, and I also want the country. Company name, and I want the country. So if you can imagine what your data source might look like, and then how you're going to display this, you know, this is basically how it would work. And so that is a little funky here. Why am I getting an error? Oh, I didn't do new. There we go. New string. So now data source country names, that's not my data source. My data source is going to be a remote URL. Now this remote URL, and this is where the product gets really cool. The remote URL is actually going to be a JSON file. So I'm going to say, I want to get this from a remote JSON object. And I'm going to say the URI, we have a with URI option, is going to be a URI. So what is my URI going to be? That's the cool thing I'm going to show you. I'm going to open up my browser again. And if you were looking in the beginning, you saw I had this thing called Excel to JSON. I think I showed this at the last webinar. But with Excel to JSON, you can upload an Excel file, for example, a dump of the Northwind database or any Excel file you have, and then we will give you back a JSON representation of that, and we'll actually store it in the cloud for you so you can reuse it whenever the heck you want. So here I've got customers, categories, employees. I basically have the whole Northwind database. When I click Save File, it saves it to my files. I've already saved all this, so I'm just going to click my name, go to My Files, and you can see that I've got all this stuff here. So if I click Suppliers, or one of these will actually have something in it, Employees, there's the JSON for employees, and here's my customers. So I want to use this to bind to my combo box. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to paste this right here. So now when I click this guy, this is what it looks like. That's the data coming from the cloud. So this is like real live data. And basically that's it. So now let's go ahead and hit run. Now the annoying thing is, because of that zoom thing, there's a bar on the top of my screen. I don't think you guys see it, but I do. So let's go ahead and hit run. And I want to make sure this opens up in Chrome. And I think it did, but it's on my other monitor. All right, so there we go. Now, when I click the drop down, boom, just like that, I've got all of my, all of the data from the cloud. So how slick is that? And then the cool thing is, this thing is autocomplete. So I can autocomplete. I can use up arrow, down arrow. This is a full full on suite combo box with multi-column. You can make the column widths bigger. You can make this whole thing bigger, but like that's all I needed to do to make this thing like awesome. Now, what I want to do next is add a grid. And I'm going to do two things here. So this is a combo box, right? So I need to have a click event essentially that is going to give me whatever item I selected. And then I need to create an event. So I'm going to just say, let's create an event called cell value changed. Not changes, changed. And I'm going to create that in 1 second. But before I do that, let's delete this. I'm going to add a couple line breaks here like so. And we're going to add a grid. Whoops. So let's add our grid. Now the grid is just as easy. I'm going to do an IGB. And I guess you're going to be able to determine what it's called, the IGB data grid, like so. And let's go ahead and do this guy here. Like so. All right. So now with the IGB data grid, there's a couple things I could do here. And I think I'm going to do one thing just to sort of kind of show how this could work. But what I want to do is I want to set the height. So the first thing we got to do is we're going to set the height, and I'm going to set this height to 300 pixels. And I'm going to set the width to, I think, around 12 or 1300 or something like that. Let's do 1200 pixels. I think my screen is around that. If I did, if I had a CSS layout, I would just say 100% or something like that. And then I'm just going to say auto generate columns equals true. So with auto generate columns equals true, and make sure you put this stuff in quotes like so, my grid will take whatever schema happens to be coming in, and it will ensure that the that schema just kind of magically works. Now for my data source, I'm just going to show you this. I'm going to copy this line from my combo box, and I'm going to paste it right here. So the grid, the chart, the combo, these data bound controls, they support the same thing. So they support this data source object. Okay, cell val change doesn't exist in this context. So let's go ahead and make sure that we add that. So we'll do this down in our code. We'll do async void cell val changed, and cell val change is going to take the IGB multi-column combo box value changed event args E. That's basically going to give us what we need. Now, what's cool about this is the combo box is super simple. It doesn't pass back an array or anything like that. So I'm just going to say var, var selected customer, because that's what I want, right? I want to get the customer. We could say selected customer ID equals E. And then it's the new value that we just picked. And then to be safe, let's make this toString, and we're ready to go. Sorry about that. That was my phone ringing. My brother's calling me. All right. So that's all we need to do there just to get this thing to build. So I'll go ahead and run it. Whoops, another error. Cell val changed. Cell val changed. Oh, yeah. Feel free to correct me as I'm doing this as well. Cell val changed. And there we go. All right, so now I've got my combo box and I've got my grid. So you can see now the grid has that data and the combo box has that data. But I want to show you something besides using the JSON from Excel to JSON. I am going to delete this line of code. And what we're going to do is we're going to wait for the data to come back from a web API. So let's go back to our browser. I'm going to show you a real web API running in the cloud. So you can see here that this is running in Azure. So I have a web API in the cloud running against an Azure database, Northwind Cloud, Azure websites, and I've got the same stuff here. So I've got the customers database. So here I can execute this, and it's warming up the database. I'm using the free tier of Azure, so it's a little sluggish in the beginning. So let's get this guy here. So you can see here, this is the data that will come back, but I want orders. So down here, I've got customer orders. So if I click try it out, and let's just type in Alfke, and execute, what this is going to do is pass that parameter in and just give me the orders back for Elfkey. So instead of using Excel to JSON, this is actually real live data that could be updating and all that coming in from your web API. So from Azure SQL. So I'm just going to copy this URL right here because that's basically what I need. And let's stick this guy over here just as a placeholder. So now that I've got my my data coming in from my web API, I need to tell it to bind to this grid. So the way that you give things like controls a name in Blazor is you use this @ref, and then you say equals, and then you give it a name. So this is going to be called the orders grid, like so. So I need to now declare a variable for that grid. So I need to do an IGB data grid, and my IGB data grid is going to be called orders grid, like so. And that's it. And while we're, no, we'll just leave it like that. So I've got orders grid here. I've declared orders grid. So now here I want to tell orders grid dot data source. What's the data source for order grid going to be? You guessed it. It's going to be the same syntax as this minus those parentheses. So let's just go ahead and paste this in. So it's @remote JSON dot with URI. And here I'm going to replace that URI with this one because this is the one that I care about, like this, but it's a parameterized, right? So I'm going to do plus customer, or what did I call this thing? Selected customer, plus selected customer, like so. And that's all we need to do, except add that to the end. So now I've got on cell value change, we're going to get the selected customer. I'm going to tell the orders grid that data source to go off to the cloud to go get that data and return it back, return the web API back. Let me delete this and bind it to the grid. So now let's save this. Let's run this again. And if I was seeing this, I'd be like blown away. I'm hoping you're blown away as well. So I've got an empty grid. I've got my drop down. I select ocean and there's my ocean orders. I'll select Supra D. There's my Supra D orders. So now I've got a master detail. The last thing I want to do, because the boss said so, is they want me to show a chart. So I need a chart in my HTML and in my code. So what I'm going to do is the same thing I did here. I'm going to do an IGB category chart. And the category chart is the Infragistics chart. It's super powerful. And I'm going to call this orders chart, like so. And I'm going to go back up here. And we got the IGB data grid. Let's add the IGB data chart. I'll add a couple line breaks. And I'm going to say IGB category chart, like so, like so, like so. And we are going to give this a height equals, I guess, 350 pixels or something. And we'll give it a width, and its width will be 1200 pixels, like our grid. And we are going to, I think that's all we're going to do for now. We're not going to set the chart type. We're not going to do anything special with it. Maybe we'll do a chart title. So I'm going to say chart title equals, whoops, customer order history, like so. And oh, we got to do, I'm going to call this thing the ref equals orders chart, like so. And that's it. So let's tell orders chart its data source is going to be very similar to this data source, except one minor modification. So I have another API called customer order history. And if we go back here and I scroll down, you will see customer order history. And this is going to return alpha key is the customer name. That's going to return the product name and the product total. So it's very simple and basic like so. And let's see, IGB category chart, orders chart, height, width. That's pretty much all we need to do. Let's save this guy. Let's hit run. And then I'm going to add a couple more features to the chart. So you can see here, I've got my chart. It's a column chart. And as I change orders, it also changes the chart. Maybe it might change the chart type based on the data. There's a few things here like the chart, because some of these names are really long, kind of, you know, doesn't look quite right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tweak it a little bit. And let me open up this over here. And I am just going to copy a bunch of lines here. And then I'll tell you what this is doing. Hold on, let me paste this in. Paste this in. All right. So the category chart will automatically figure out the chart based on the data, but you can also specify the chart type. So in this case, I can specify column, spline, line, it doesn't matter. The other thing is we have other features like animation transitions, crosshairs, trend lines, plot area margins, but this one's the cool one. I'm actually going to tell it to rotate the labels so I can see more of those labels because right now I can't see all the labels. So I add all that in. Let me do a hot reload here. Let's go back and there we go. Now I've got a beautiful chart that has a trend line. It has a nice little animation to it. And even better, I can see all of the data fields with it. So with that, we've basically done, you know, master detail app with grids and charts and blah, blah, blah. And oh, Derek, thanks, man. Thanks for showing up. Sorry you have to bail. I know I'm over time here. So the product to do this is just Ignite UI. And inside of Ignite UI, you get Blazor, Angular, Web Components, jQuery, React, and you get App Builder, which I'm going to show you right now. So how about doing all this, but although faster? You still have to do a little wiring up of the code, but I'm going to open up App Builder and I'll show you how to get to App Builder after I do this. This will only take 30 seconds and then we'll wrap it up because we're already over. This is App Builder. This is part of the Ignite UI package. It is a WYSIWYG screen designer, ships with a bunch of different templates. I'm going to just do a very basic empty template here. And when you do an empty template, you can do cool things like pick the layout. So let's do something like we just did, like this three-prong thing here. And in this case, I'm going to make this height to be like 200 pixels, or actually, no, a lot less. How about 75 pixels? That's more like it. Then my grid here, and there's another thing here. So I'm going to do a Control E, which is kind of like bringing up my toolbox, or I could go to the toolbox here and drag and drop stuff. So I'm going to go get, I think the simple combo is in here. Let's check. Well, we'll drag this combo. So there's a combo box, and then I'm going to do the Control E, which is also another way to bring up the toolbox. There's my grid. So my grid, I'm going to tell this guy to be 100%, and I want the height to be 100%. Like so. I'm going to copy this grid. I'm going to paste it right here. Boom. I've got a combo box and a grid and a grid. What do I want to bind this data to? Let's go over to our data sources window. Let's click the plus sign. Let's do a REST API. I want to do this open API from Swagger that I was using up in the cloud. So let me go back to my browser. Let me grab this URL because this is the Swagger definition. Control C, minimize, paste, done. Swagger's there, configure endpoints. I want customers, categories, and I want, well, we'll just grab anything, orders. And then I'm just going to say select data because I know I'm just doing this fast. We can go into this more at the next webinar. I hate going over, but I'm way over. So now I've got all this data. Now I want to bind it. So I'm going to say use my data source that I just added, add the customers here. And what I want to do is I want to display the company name like I did earlier. Now here, I want to display orders. And so there's the orders. I don't know why there's no data there. Something got messed up somewhere. And then here, let's just display categories. And let's go back to this and see what's going on. Did I mess something up? Well, let me use the, let me use another one. Oh, we'll just use customer order history. All right, that's it. I'm done. Let's click preview. Okay, now I've got my grids with live data. I've got my drop down sort of like earlier. This is the Blazor code for that. Here's the Angular code. So you can do Blazor or Angular. I can click edit and I can publish this to GitHub, or I could download the zip. And I can even do things like, hey, let's use a dark theme, or let's use a Bootstrap light theme, or how about a custom theme like this Titanium web, which is kind of cool. Or, oh, how about this one? Fluent with some gold, bronze. But anyway, that's App Builder. We did an App Builder webinar a couple weeks ago. And so watch that video because I think you'll be blown away. It is a WYSIWYG screen designer for Blazor and Angular. And all this code that I did manually, which by the way, didn't take very long. This was a 30-minute webinar and I was talking a lot. And honestly, I'm pretty happy that, you know, there was really no errors. So, well, there was one error, but that's that. Let's get back to our slides. Get Ignite UI today. Go to igniteui.com or infragistics.com. Click the first menu item for development and select Ignite UI, and you will get all this good stuff. And that's it. I mean, really, we're trying to make your life easier. We want you to write more code that matters, not this redundant, boring UI code where you can use our WYSIWYG app builder. You can use some of these tricks like, you know, binding remote JSON right into a control. Check out excel2json.io. This is a free utility on the web. We built it and we're going to continue to improve upon it. But yeah, I want to thank everyone for coming today. Looks like we've got all the questions answered. I appreciate everyone's time, and we will see you in 2 weeks. We're going to be doing webinars every couple weeks. And then on the off weeks, we do a YouTube live, but that's like 4:30 p.m. Eastern time in the US, maybe too late or early in the morning for you guys. But the recordings are always up on our YouTube channel. So if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, just go to youtube.com, type in Infragistics, and we'll show up. You'll get notifications of what's going on. And of course, if you have anything that you need to know, feel free to email me or Luke, and we will take care of you. So thanks again, everyone, and we will see you at the next webinar.